This is the Powerbomb. I'm JP, and I'm going to give you my best possible recap for what happened on last night's Smackdown. But first of all, wearing the CM Punk shirt with the gold. Let's go, Vegas. Take down the Hurricanes tonight. Go up 2-1 in this series, and let's cut out this charade. But let's get into what happened on Smackdown. Good start to the show. Gunther comes out, pissed off, wants the rematch. His foot was under the rope. Everyone saw it Clash in Italy. Everybody knew the foot was under the rope. He comes out, and he's like, this show is not starting until justice is served. And then Cody comes out, and Cody says, you're right, Gunther. You're right. Your foot was under the rope. You deserve a rematch, and what better place than Bologna, Italy? Let's do it tonight. And then Sami Zayn comes out. And he's got to throw his 2 cents into everything. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He tells Gunther, like, Gunther, be quiet. Because I have already beaten you. And I think I know a little something about winning a championship off of you. And then he's talking about how Gunther shouldn't have this match and how he's overlooked. And he said to Cody, hey, you said once you were done with Gunther, you were going to teach me a lesson. So when are we going to do this? So I just want Gunther and Cody. I don't want Sami Zayn anywhere near this story, but it looks like they're trying to give him some type of a push towards that undisputed championship, which I personally don't want. Kind of a little pissed about it. But it is what it is. I just want to see Gunther Cody. But looks like Sami's got to throw his weight around as well. Then we go backstage to The Miz. And let me tell you something. The Miz is a Cleveland native. And Cleveland has had one hell of a rough week. They get absolutely embarrassed by the New York Knicks. Their coach looks like an absolute fool. And then, to top it all off, Cleveland decides to trade Myles Garrett, who is their only valuable asset on the whole team. So I can understand why The Miz is a little miffed at the city of Cleveland right now. And then he runs into Danhausen's, I guess, machine to bring people back from the dead. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Danhausen's got a little Frankenstein in him, I guess. And he goes there. Danhausen is like, what are you doing here? And then, like, The Miz is like, oh, you don't like it when people come to your house, do you? And Danhausen's like, no, of course not. Why would I? Which is funny because Danhausen went to The Miz's house a while back, and they did a whole segment there. But The Miz gets all angry. He starts pushing things around. He starts breaking his machine. And Danhausen is like, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Really don't touch that. And then he finally, ends up getting electrocuted. And on the cell phone, Miz is holding. Kit Wilson's still talking. So The Miz is on the ground, electrocuted. And Kit Wilson is like, Miz? Hello? Miz? So they keep continuing this Miz Danhausen story going forward. Then we had a fatal 4-way Queen of the Ring qualifying match between Kiana James, Jacy Jayne, Bayley, and Raquel. First off, a couple things I want to say right off the bat. This is a very smart move, very smart booking by Triple H and WWE to have Bayley in there with a Kiana James, a Raquel, and Jacy Jayne. Very smart. They're very young, very inexperienced. You put them in there with a veteran like Bayley. They all get their shine. They all have their one-on-ones with Bayley. I thought Kiana James looked really good in this match. I thought Jacy Jayne did phenomenal. I thought Bayley had some good spots as well. Just a solid match. And then we have a part of the match where it looks like Kiana James is going to get the win. Her foot's on the rope. But anyways, Kiana James is mad. She's like, what the hell? I had the match won. And Julia's like, it wasn't me. Like, I didn't do it. So starting to build that feud going forward. And then, obviously, It is Raquel getting the win on Bayley. Bayley eats the pin. 1, 2, 3. And it looks like Raquel is advancing in the Queen of the Ring tournament, which is one step closer to her getting her title shot. And it would be against Liv, which is very interesting where they're going with this. But post-match, Julia's in the ring. Kiana James is, getting over the loss. And Julia's trying to console her. And Kiana James just shoves her away. And she's like, no, I'm tired of this. I've done everything for you. And you friggin' screw me out of this match. We're done. And Julia keeps trying. And Kiana James keeps shoving her out of the way. And then Julia ends up fighting back, and it looks like the team of Julia and Kiana James is over, and we can move forward with this feud. But it looks like that was a whole thing to try to get Julia to be the babyface, and it looks like the fans are kind of gravitating towards that. Chad Gable's back, everyone, and he got a hero's welcome in Italy. That was a loud pop, so I'm going to run this back. Sami Zayn is bitching about how Nick Aldis isn't doing anything, and he's bitching to Johnny Gargano, who's just sitting on that stupid table every damn show, just like that. I don't know what that character's supposed to be. I don't, if we're doing like we're doing the friggin' broke Baron Corbin character. They're taking a page out of that book, and they're doing that with Johnny Gargano. So Sami Zayn comes over, and he's bitching about how, like, Cody is overlooking him, and he's tired of Gunther, and no justice is being done for Sami Zayn. And then Nick Aldis comes in, and Sami Zayn is like, well, what are we going to do about this? When am I going to get my match? And Nick Aldis is like, you've made this 10 times worse. Okay? This is a Gunther Cody situation. You're not part of this, Sammy. Please back off. And then he's like, now will you excuse me, because I have a very important meeting to get to. And Sami Zayn's like, oh, here we go again, blowing me off. Blowing off Sami Zayn. Typical Nick Aldis, typical Cody Rhodes. And then the door opens, and it's Chad Gable. Chad Gable is back, and we had a nice little moment here with Chad Gable and Sammy, because remember, it was Chad Gable that trained Sammy in beating Gunther at WrestleMania 40 for that Intercontinental Championship. So I like what they did with Chad Gable. The Italy crowd gave him a huge pop, and he wasn't even in the ring. He was backstage, and you could hear Italy just explode. But everything Chad Gable has done with the Grande Americano character, it's really good to see that the fans are really getting behind Chad Gable, and I think he is going to be a very integral part on SmackDown going forward. Then we had an okay match. It was Royce Keys and Tala Tonga, and it was alright. I mean, it was the typical hard-hitting match. The big, tall Tala Tonga, the big muscular Royce Keys. This kind of felt like an AEW match, to be honest. Just hard-hitting. And Tala Tonga ends up getting the win. We had a couple run-ins here. Like, the MFTs were just too much for him to overcome. So R-Truth came out to help the cause. And they're doing something between Royce Keys and R-Truth going forward. Then the post-match, pretty much Royce Keys is getting beaten up by the MFTs. R-Truth tries to come out to help him. And then Damian grabs R-Truth and says, come on, let's go. Like, this doesn't concern us. This is not our problem. We don't need Royce Keys. We don't need this. We got our own issues. Let's go. And R-Truth leaves with Damian Priest, and basically Royce Keys just ends up getting beaten up by the MFTs. Then we run to a segment in the backstage with the Judgment Day. You got JD McDonough, you got Liv Morgan, you got Dominic, and Dominic's talking about how he's about to go win the King of the Ring and all this. And then Liv is, talking with him and being like, yeah, when we win King and Queen of the Ring. And Raquel is right there, and she's like, what the hell? What the hell? I just won. Why can't it be me? And Liv's like, it absolutely could be you. It could be me and you at SummerSlam. That could be great. And it's just showing more of an implosion coming with the Judgment Day, because you got Dominic talking about winning the King of the Ring, but there's other people involved in this, and JD didn't like that. You could kind of see it in his face. Like, oh, whoa, what are we, expendable? And then also, guess who's absent from this? And Liv Morgan talking about how, oh, Roxanne's not here tonight because, she's still sulking over her loss and Queen of the Ring match on Monday Night Raw. Just keep building the layers to this story, because Roxanne is going to turn on Liv at some point. Maybe what they're going for is Raquel Rodriguez versus Liv Morgan at SummerSlam for that World Heavyweight Championship, and Roxanne costs Liv, and Raquel wins the title. Maybe that's where they're going. I don't personally know. But that could be one direction they're going in. Then we have Rhea Ripley come out with her undisputed championship draped across her shoulders, looking like a absolute pro with the title belt and interacting with the Italy crowd, and she's looking just phenomenal. She's singing her song. Everything's going great. She gets in the ring. She talks about how we can finally get past the Jade experiment. We can finally move on to better things. And then she's talking about how Jade tried the numbers game with B-Fab and Mishin, and Jade was like, and Rhea was like, that wasn't enough to take me down. I am still your women's undisputed champion. And then she's like, and by that numbers game, an unexpected friend came to the rescue, and she's talking about Charlotte Flair, and then cue Charlotte Flair's music. So Charlotte Flair comes down, and she's talking about how her and Rhea have had history, but she helped her because Charlotte feels that she respects Rhea Ripley for what she's done. She respects her for being a true competitor and all that. And then this is where, now see, they're both in the ring at this point. Rhea and Charlotte are both in the ring, and it's given like big match SummerSlam vibes. Like this is going to be big at SummerSlam. And then Tiffany's music hits. I'm tired of Tiffany Stratton. I don't care that she's over. I don't care that the fans shout Tiffy time. This was not the place to interject her. I know she's in the Queen of the Ring. I get it. She's in the tournament. But this was not the place to interject Tiffany Stratton. And then it goes from bad to worse, because then Jade Cargill comes out and she's talking about wanting to face Rhea Ripley. And I'm just like, can we just get away from Jade and get away from her two lackeys, Mishin and B-Fab? Like, they have zero talent in their whole bodies. Like, please get away from this story. And then basically all this turns into is Charlotte being, well, there's two of you, and I don't have Alexa, but Tiffany, you want to team up tonight in Italy? So it was Tiffany and Charlotte versus freaking Mishin and Jade, and the match just absolutely sucked, and it was just bad. And Jade and Mishin get the win, which I guess helps them out. In what way, I have no clue, but the match sucked. Okay? B-Fab sucks. Mishin sucks. Please stop putting them on TV. They're not going to get over Triple H. No matter what you do, they're not getting over. They're clumsy, they're sloppy, and they're... what's that word? They have no charisma. They got no charisma. It's not working. And putting them with Jade is not helping the situation. Then we get a backstage segment with Kathy Kelly, and she's talking to JC Jane. She's saying, "Oh, JC, no, that didn't go good for you and everything." And she's like, "No, it didn't go good for me." And then you got Fallon Henley being like, "Read the room, Kathy, okay? We're not happy right now. She just lost the Queen of the Ring match. Like, nobody's happy right now." And then you have Paige and Brie doing some type of photo shoot, and then Brie is like, "Oh, don't talk about JC Jane. She just had a bad loss." And then all of a sudden the freaking Fatal Influence jumps Brie and Paige. So I guess we're setting up some type of a feud going forward with Paige and Brie, and I'm assuming the tag titles will be on the line eventually in this story. So it looks like that's where they're going. Into a segment where it's R-Truth and Royce Keys, And it's kind of like R-Truth's playing both sides. Like, he wants to help Royce Keys against the MFTs, but he also doesn't want to disappoint Damian Priest. So R-Truth's gonna have to pick a lane. And if I was to pick a lane, it would probably just be stay with Damian Priest, let Royce Keys do his. Then we had Ricky Saints versus Carmelo Hayes, and this is just a typical match to see who can try to get over a little bit here. They both need some traction with the W Universe. Ricky Saints and Carmelo Hayes. It was an okay match, nothing great. Ricky won by doing a roll up with Carmelo Hayes' trunks. He got the 1, 2, 3. It was all right. I don't think anybody really got over from this, so it was just a good way to try to get the crowd into these characters. Then we go to a backstage segment. Trick Williams is with Kathy Kelly, and he's talking about, man, wouldn't it be nice, I got 2 chains. Pretty soon I'll have 2 championships, and then I'll go down as one of the greats, like Booker T, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like Triple H. And he's just going on and on and on and talking. And then we had a little run-in with Bron Breakker, and those two had a hell of a stare down. And I wouldn't mind a Trick Williams versus Bron Breakker feud going forward. I wouldn't mind that. I think that would be really good. But obviously this was a run-in because later on that night they're going to meet in the King of the Ring qualifier match. And then we cut to Tiffy time in the back room. And, she's holding her side because, she just lost to Mishin and Jade Cargill. And Chelsea's there and she's like, why didn't you have me out there? I would have helped. And then Tiffany's like, I don't need your help. Like, I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but I don't need your help. It was an okay segment. We had Lash with Nia Jax out there, and oh god, Nia Jax. Walking papers, party of one. I don't like Nia Jax. I don't like her. I don't like her character. I don't think she's anything special. I don't know what Triple H is holding on to her for, but she's not it. And Lash Legend, unfortunately, is carrying some dead weight, which is Nia Jax. But I don't know if Lash Legend has the charisma either, so I'm not sure where to go with this one. But it was Lash Legend versus Chelsea Green, and this match is... Now, I'm all about pop culture, so this is what reminded me of this match. Pikachu versus Raichu Part 1. Pikachu is Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green is using her agility, moving around the ring, trying to do quick hits and get out of there. Lash Legend is Raichu, pretty much one move and knocks her out for at least a couple minutes. This was your typical agility versus power, and power overcomes in this one because Lash Legend beats Chelsea Green. The match wasn't that great. Nothing really special happened. Yeah. Then we cut to Royce Keys in the back, and, he just got beaten up by the MFTs, so he's not in any position to do anything. And then Solo shows up. And I'm like, oh god, it's Solo Sikoa. What now? They just had a run-in. What now? And Solo's like, Royce, you gotta stop being difficult. Okay? You gotta stop being difficult. Listen. Damian doesn't want your help. Damian's not helping you. The Usos didn't call you when you got here. Jacob didn't reach out to you when you got here. So I'm going to make this very simple. Roman just called you out, Royce. Roman just called you out. You need help. I'm here, offering my help. Look what I've done. I've gotten Jacob a title. I brought in Talatanga. I brought in Tamatanga. I'm the one that got Jacob here. Follow me, because there's war coming. So Royce, join the MFTs. Solo makes a lot of good points here. He did bring Jacob. He did bring Tama. he did bring Tala. A couple other family members that got their releases because they just weren't good. Like Tongaloa, who was an absolute train wreck. And then JC Mateo, adios. But Solo's got a point here. Royce is going to need some help. So what are we going to do? Is Royce going to continue to be with Damian Priest and R-Truth? Is he going to keep trying to get help there? Or is he going to go to Solo? Who knows? Then we got a segment with Fraxium, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom. And we have Chad Gable come out. But before Chad Gable came out, Ray Phoenix is talking with Fraxium, and he's saying that he'll put that AAA championship on the line anytime, anywhere. And then Chad Gable comes over and he's like, hey guys, can we have a moment? And Chad Gable's talking with Ray Phoenix and he's like, I just want you to know I'm sorry. I thought, with the whole Lucha Libre thing, I thought, I could just mock you. That's why I put the mask on, because I just wanted to mock the luchadors. But after being in AAA and being a luchador, I've earned respect for this, and it hurt when I lost my mask. And Ray Phoenix, we had a great match at WrestleMania, and I just want to apologize for everything. And Ray Phoenix is like, Chad, now you know what it's like to be a luchador. Now you know that it's not fun and games, that there's a real respect that's involved with being a luchador. And you losing your mask, that must have been really tough. But I forgive you. However, there's other people, Chad, that you disrespected, and you need to get apologized to them as well. So obviously, this is setting up for Chad Gable to go apologize to Penta. This is gonna have him apologize to Rey Mysterio. And I think Chad Gable's character going forward is going to be very interesting. And like I said earlier, he is going to be an asset to SmackDown. So I'm looking forward to what Chad Gable has down the line, because I think there should be a championship in the sights for Chad Gable. And who knows? Maybe Chad Gable will go apologize to Otis and Tozawa and Maxine. He's got a lot of apologizing to do. Then we cut to Cody walking through the halls, and he runs into Nick Aldis, and Cody's like, hey Nick, so what's the deal? What are we doing with Gunther? And he's like, well, I just got off the phone with Gunther's legal team, and it's very awful, by the way. And it looks like Gunther is going to see us next week on SmackDown, and he will pick the stipulation for the championship match. And then Cody is like, alright, so he's picking the stipulation next week. So the following week, after the stipulation, we'll have the championship match. So in 2 weeks, Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the Undisputed Championship in Kansas. I wonder what the stipulation is going to be. Is it going to be false count anywhere, so you can't put your foot under the rope? Is it going to be a submission match, because Gunther has that sleeper hold? Is it going to be no DQ? Is it going to be a steel cage? I don't know. I don't know where if this feud, has the needs of that crazy of a stipulation. Maybe it could be an Iron Man match. I think that would be pretty good. Who knows? But then we have our final King of the Ring qualifier for the night. And it's Damian versus Dominic versus Braun versus Trick Williams. Now, obviously, you have Dominic and Damian, who former Judgment Day. And obviously, Dominic kicked him out of the Judgment Day. So you have that going. Obviously, Liv is at ringside. And there's actually a moment where Dominic and Liv are just flirting with each other and just basically, joking with Damian. Being like, hey, look at us. And here you are. And then you obviously have Braun and Trick Williams in this match. And it was alright. Was it main event worthy? No. Judgment Day was just too much. They cost Damian, and Dominic wins. Dominic moves on, but he's not out of the woods, everyone. His King of the Ring qualifying match is against Oba Femi. Now, does Dominic win because Brock Lesnar costs Oba Femi? Or does Oba Femi just absolutely steamroll Dominic Mysterio? Don't know. I think you could go either way with this. Oba could win, getting him further down the line. Or Dominic can win. We'll find out. See on Monday night what happens. Just want to say one thing. And I'm calling out the USA fans here. Do you see what's happening overseas? Saudi, Italy, London, all these countries. The USA is very, spoiled. Because we get wrestling all the time here, and because we've gotten so much wrestling in the past, we're not truly over the top with the pro wrestling that we get. The European fans and the fans overseas, they don't get WWE that much. So when the WWE goes there, they truly are appreciative and they're into everything. They're into everything, and you could see it on Smackdown tonight. Cody's signing autographs on the way to the ring. Everyone's excited with Rhea Ripley. The pop Chad Gable got. That would not happen in the U.S. because we're freaking so spoiled that we've lost our fandom somehow. We've lost our excitement. Now all we do is complain on Twitter when shit doesn't go our way. All we do is just take wrestling for granted. We should be doing what Italy's doing. We should just appreciate this for what it is. But instead, we just take it for granted. And the wrestlers are so much more appreciated overseas. Sometimes I'm just disgusted with the US, and you wonder why we don't get PLEs. You wonder why. We get a SummerSlam in Minnesota because it's one of the big four. We get WrestleMania in Vegas, but obviously next year we're going to get WrestleMania in Saudi, and that fan base is going to be insane. Also the only place where Sami Zayn's going to get any type of pop. Need to do better, US. We need to do better. I'm JP. This was the Powerbomb. Enjoy your Saturday.